Time has a way of whispering questions that grow louder after 72, not about how many years remain, but about what the body already knows and quietly signals. Longevity at this stage is not a mystery locked in genetics alone. It is a living conversation between cells, systems, and daily habits, unfolding in ways we can still observe, influence, and respect. After the age of 72, the body speaks less through power and more through response. What truly predicts how long a person may live is not how much weight they can lift or how fast they can move, but how efficiently the body returns to balance after it has been disturbed. This idea of resilience is deeply biological. Every day, the body faces small stresses: poor sleep, emotional strain, minor infections, fluctuations in blood sugar, inflammation from food or environment. In a resilient system, these stresses activate repair pathways that turn on quickly and shut off at the right time. When this happens, inflammation resolves instead of lingering, tissues heal without excessive scarring, and energy gradually restores rather than collapsing. At the cellular level, recovery speed reflects how well the body manages damage. Cells constantly produce waste and suffer microscopic injuries. Longevity depends on how effectively this debris is cleared and how accurately cells rebuild themselves. When recovery is smooth, it suggests that cellular cleanup processes remain active, that mitochondria still produce energy without excessive oxidative stress, and that immune responses are proportionate rather than exaggerated. Chronic inflammation, by contrast, signals delayed recovery, where the body stays in a defensive state long after the threat has passed, slowly eroding organs and accelerating biological aging. Sleep becomes one of the most revealing windows into resilience after 72. Restorative sleep is not simply about duration, but about depth and continuity. When sleep refreshes rather than merely passes time, it shows that hormonal rhythms are intact and that the nervous system can still shift into repair mode. Growth-related repair signals, immune recalibration, and brain detoxification all rely on this nightly reset. A body that wakes clearer instead of heavier is demonstrating its capacity to restore equilibrium. Resilience is also visible in how the body handles minor illnesses or injuries. A cold that resolves cleanly, muscle soreness that fades predictably, or digestive discomfort that corrects itself suggests adaptive flexibility. This does not mean the absence of problems, but the presence of resolution. Biologically, this reflects coordinated communication between organs, immune cells, and endocrine signals, all working without excessive friction. The faster the return to baseline, the less cumulative damage accrues over time. Emotionally, recovery speed matters just as much as physical repair. Stress hormones influence inflammation, blood pressure, and immune function. When emotional stress settles rather than embeds itself in the body, it reduces the biochemical wear that shortens lifespan. Calm recovery after worry or grief is not a personality trait alone. It is a sign of a nervous system that can still downshift, protecting the heart, brain, and immune defenses from chronic overload. After 72, resilience becomes the quiet metric of longevity, revealing how well the body absorbs life's pressures without breaking, how efficiently it repairs what time inevitably touches, and how gently it returns to balance again and again, day after day. After the age of 72, balance becomes one of the most honest expressions of internal health because it cannot be faked or forced. It emerges from the seamless cooperation of systems that age at different speeds yet must still work together in real time. Standing steadily, walking with a natural rhythm, or adjusting posture without conscious effort reflects the integrity of communication between the brain, the inner ear, the eyes, the muscles, and the cardiovascular system. When this coordination remains smooth, it suggests that neural pathways are still transmitting signals efficiently and that blood flow is reliably nourishing the regions of the brain responsible for spatial awareness and movement control. From a biological perspective, balance is a conversation between sensation and response. The inner ear detects subtle shifts in position, the eyes provide environmental reference, and sensory receptors in the muscles and joints report tension and alignment. These signals travel to the brain, where they are integrated and translated into precise muscular adjustments. After 72, when this process remains fluid, it reflects preserved neural plasticity and healthy synaptic function. It also indicates that the small blood vessels supplying the brainstem and cerebellum remain resilient, allowing rapid signaling without delay or distortion. Gait, the way a person walks, offers equally valuable insight. A steady, symmetrical stride suggests that motor planning and execution are still synchronized. It shows that muscle strength, nerve conduction, and timing remain aligned. When walking feels natural rather than effortful, the brain is efficiently predicting movement and correcting it in real time. This predictive capacity relies on intact neural circuits and sufficient energy supply to nerve cells, both of which correlate strongly with longer survival and reduced cognitive decline. Balance also reflects metabolic and muscular health. Muscles that respond quickly to correction signals require adequate protein synthesis, mitochondrial energy production, and neuromuscular junction integrity. When these processes remain active, the body can make micro-adjustments before a stumble becomes a fall. Each successful correction is a silent demonstration of repair systems that are still functioning. Over time, these small moments of stability protect independence, reduce injury risk, and preserve confidence, all of which feed back into physiological health. There is also a psychological dimension woven into balance. Fear of falling alters posture, tightens muscles, and disrupts natural movement patterns. When balance is secure, movement remains relaxed, conserving energy and reducing stress hormone output. This calm physical confidence supports cardiovascular stability and reduces inflammatory signaling. The body moves not in defense, but in cooperation with gravity. As years advance beyond 72, balance becomes a living measure of how well the body integrates information, distributes energy, and adapts to change. It reveals the state of the nervous system, the health of circulation, and the readiness of muscles to respond. More than a physical skill, it is a biological language that speaks of coordination rather than force, of harmony rather than speed, and of a body that still understands how to orient itself in space, moment by moment. After 72, energy becomes less about quantity and more about stability. The body's ability to move smoothly between meals, activities, and periods of rest without sharp drops in strength or mental clarity reveals how flexible its metabolic systems remain. When energy holds steady rather than swinging between spikes and crashes, it suggests that cells can efficiently switch between fuel sources, drawing from glucose when available and stored energy when needed. This metabolic adaptability protects organs from constant insulin surges and reduces the strain that accelerates cellular aging. At the center of this process are mitochondria, the structures within cells responsible for energy production. When they function efficiently, energy is produced cleanly, with less oxidative stress and fewer damaging byproducts. After 72, preserved mitochondrial function indicates that cells are still responsive to metabolic signals and capable of meeting energy demands without triggering inflammation. This efficiency supports not only muscles, but also the brain, where steady energy supply sustains focus, memory, and emotional balance. Blood sugar regulation plays a crucial role in this pattern. When glucose levels rise and fall gently rather than abruptly, it reflects preserved insulin sensitivity and healthy liver function. This stability protects blood vessels, nerves, and the brain from the cumulative damage caused by repeated metabolic stress. Over time, such balance lowers the risk of fatigue-related inactivity, which can silently erode strength and resilience. Mental clarity is often the most noticeable expression of metabolic flexibility. When thoughts remain clear between meals and concentration does not depend on constant stimulation or snacking, it suggests that the brain can access alternative energy pathways efficiently. This adaptability reflects both metabolic health and neurological resilience, supporting decision-making and emotional regulation. As the years progress, metabolic flexibility becomes a quiet predictor of longevity, revealing how well the body adapts to changing demands, conserves energy under stress, and sustains internal balance without constant intervention, allowing daily life to unfold with steadiness rather than strain. After 72, emotional stability becomes a biological signal rather than a purely psychological trait. The way a person responds to stress, disappointment, or uncertainty reflects the condition of the nervous system and the chemical environment of the brain. When emotional reactions rise and settle naturally instead of lingering, it suggests balanced neurotransmitter activity and a healthy interaction between the brain and the hormonal systems that regulate stress. This balance reduces prolonged exposure to stress hormones that silently damage blood vessels, weaken immune responses, and accelerate cognitive decline. The brain ages not only through the loss of neurons but through the quality of the internal signals that support them. Chronic emotional stress alters inflammatory pathways, disrupts sleep rhythms, and impairs cellular repair. In contrast, emotional regulation allows the brain to return to a state where maintenance and recovery can occur. After 72, this ability reflects preserved neural flexibility, where circuits involved in emotional processing can still adapt, rather than becoming rigid and reactive. There is also a close link between emotional recovery and cardiovascular health. Stress-related surges in heart rate and blood pressure place repeated strain on the heart and arteries. When emotions stabilize efficiently, these physiological fluctuations remain brief and manageable. Over time, this reduces wear on the cardiovascular system and supports consistent blood flow to the brain, reinforcing both physical and cognitive resilience. Emotional stability also influences behavior in subtle but powerful ways. A calmer internal state supports better decision-making around sleep, movement, and nutrition. It reduces impulsive reactions and encourages routines that sustain health. These choices, reinforced daily, shape long-term outcomes more reliably than short bursts of effort. As life advances, emotional regulation becomes a form of internal hygiene, quietly clearing stress before it accumulates. It allows the body to allocate energy toward repair rather than defense, preserves mental clarity, and supports social connection, all of which reinforce the biological foundations of longevity and sustained well-being. After 72, the desire to engage with life becomes one of the most revealing indicators of biological vitality. This is not about constant activity or forced optimism, but about a quiet willingness to remain involved, curious, and connected. From a physiological perspective, meaningful engagement influences hormone regulation, immune function, and neural activity. Social interaction and a sense of purpose stimulate neurotransmitters that support motivation and emotional balance, while also reducing chronic stress responses that accelerate aging at the cellular level. The body responds to meaning in measurable ways. When a person anticipates connection or contribution, the nervous system shifts toward a state that favors repair rather than protection. Heart rate variability improves, inflammatory signals decrease, and immune surveillance becomes more efficient. These internal changes do not require grand goals. Even small, consistent reasons to participate in daily life can sustain this biological environment. The presence of purpose signals to the body that the future still matters. subtly influencing how resources are allocated within cells and tissues. Engagement also supports cognitive longevity. Curiosity activates networks involved in learning and memory, keeping neural pathways active and adaptable. When the mind remains interested, it challenges the brain to integrate new information, strengthening connections that might otherwise weaken with age. This mental stimulation works in concert with physical and emotional systems, reinforcing overall resilience. There is a reciprocal relationship between connection and physical health. When individuals feel valued and involved, they are more likely to move, communicate, and care for their bodies. These behaviors reinforce circulation, muscle integrity, and metabolic balance. In turn, a healthier body makes engagement easier, creating a reinforcing cycle that supports extended well-being. Beyond biology, engagement reflects a deeper alignment between body and mind. It suggests that the internal systems governing motivation, reward, and perception remain coordinated. After 72, this alignment becomes a quiet force that shapes longevity, guiding the body to invest in maintenance and adaptation rather than withdrawal, sustaining life through continued participation and meaning.